We're fourth year university students, and from the next year we'll be working. But honestly, the closer it gets, the more anxious I feel about my future career.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Do you think the success in life depends more on talent or on luck?
I'd say it's talent. I mean, when I look at successful people, they all seems to be insanely talented.
Actually, that's not always the case. Let me give you an interesting example from 2022 Ig Nobel Prize, which featured a study called Talent versus Luck. For instance, in the US research shows that probability of scientists publishing their most impactful paper has nothing to do with how long their career is.
Really? But in sports or academics, the more you practice, the better result you get. Student scientists also have a higher chance of publishing a groundbreaking paper as they gain more experience.
Surprisingly, not necessarily. For example, here's a graph showing the citation of papers by Frank Wilczek, who won the 2004 Nobel Prize in Physics, and John Fenn, who won the 2002 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. In both cases, the Nobel winning paper was also their most cited work.
Wow, so Frank's Nobel paper was one of his first publications, but John's came much later in his career, and the number of citations doesn't seem tied to career length at all.
Exactly, and this isn't just about those two. A 2016 study at Northeastern University analyzed 2,887 physicists and confirmed that there's no statistical correlation between when a scientist publishes their most important paper and the length of their career. It seems that many discoveries happen because of happy accidents. There's even a term for this called a serendipity effect.
So, other factors beyond sheer talent can really shape someone's life.
Right. And to dig deeper into this question, researchers built a simulated city of 1,000 virtual citizens and ran a life simulation. That's the Ig Nobel study, Talent versus Luck, I mentioned earlier. Here's how it worked. The city started with 1,000 citizens, all 20 years old, each with the same amount of wealth, but every individual was assigned a talent score between zero point 0.3 and zero point 0.9, distributed normally. Their talent score never changed over their lifetime.
Hmm, that seems really close to real life.
Every 6 months, each citizen experienced one of three possible events, but the probabilities weren't equal. The first event was nothing happens, and that's what most people experience in most of the time. The second was good luck, which doubled their wealth with a probability based on their talent.
Oh, the higher your talent, the more likely you were to capitalize on lucky events.
Exactly. In this experiment, talent was defined as the ability to take advantage of opportunities provided by the luck. The third event was bad luck. This cut wealth in half regardless of talent. Like a car accident or sudden illness in real life, talent doesn't help in those situations.
True, a sudden hospital bill can drain your assets, no matter how smart you are.
So, with these rules, citizens worked for 40 years until retirement. And what happened after 40 years? Their first big finding was that the wealth distribution followed the Pareto principle.
That's the 80-20 rule, right? Where 20% of the people hold 80% of the wealth.
Exactly. After 40 years, 20% of citizens own 80% of wealth, just like in real life. A clear sign of inequality.
Wait, both good luck and bad luck were random, weren't they?
Yeah, but like with stocks, once you're rich, it's easier to keep doubling. That's the capitalism's winner takes all. With abilities like intelligence or athleticisms, you don't see that kind of extreme gap. The smartest or strongest person isn't 100 times better than the average. But with wealth, the disparity can be enormous.
That's true. Wealth is the one human stat where the gap becomes absurdly wide.
And this makes the simulation convincing because real world wealth also follows the Pareto's law. In fact, today, the eight richest people in the world own as much as the poorest 3.6 billion people combined.
That's even harsher than the simulation.
Now, here's the second big finding. Who do you think became the richest person in that city?
That's easy. The person with the highest talent score.
Surprisingly, no. In repeated simulations, the most talented individual almost never ended up as the wealthiest.
Then who was it?
It was always the person who encountered the most lucky events and avoided the most bad luck. Meanwhile, the poorest person was the one hit hardest by the bad luck. The graph shows this clearly. The richest always had many lucky breaks and very few misfortunes.
So success in life strongly depends on the balance of lucky and unlucky events. But what about the actual talent level of the richest person?
Good question. When researchers plotted final wealth against talent, they did see that higher talent generally led to the higher average wealth.
That makes sense.
But the absolute richest person was always someone with the slightly above average talent, not the most talented,
Why is that?
simply because of probability. Since most people cluster around average talent in normal distribution, the chances are higher that the luckiest person will come from that group. That's why luck often outweighs talent.
So, in the end, someone with average talent but extraordinary luck will far surpass a genius with bad luck.
Exactly. And when successful people talk about their struggles and hard work, it's often influenced by the hindsight bias. They retroactively attribute their success to talent and effort while downplaying the role of luck.
So, even if luck plays a huge role, people tend to underestimate it. That's kind of depressing.
Well, maybe, but in the end, all we can do is hope for a little luck.